You've felt it before, haven't you? That quiet moment where you realized no one was coming to check on you the way you check on everyone else, where you were the one holding space, the one understanding, the one staying strong. And somewhere deep inside a question formed that you didn't want to say out loud: when is it my turn? And the truth most empaths don't realize yet is that the moment you finally choose yourself, everything begins to change, not just around you, but inside you, because there's a reason you kept choosing others even when it hurt, even when it drained you. And it wasn't weakness, it was adaptation. Your nervous system learned early that being emotionally available created safety. Maybe you were the calm one in chaos. Maybe you were the listener no one else was. Maybe you learned to read moods before words were spoken. And every time you adjusted yourself to keep the peace your body registered something important, connection was preserved, and your nervous system took note. It learned that your value lived in your ability to be there, to understand, to absorb, to carry, and slowly, without realizing it, your attention moved outward. You became highly aware of what others needed, what others felt, what others might be missing, but something else happened at the same time. You slowly lost access to your own signals, not completely, but enough that they became easier to override. You might notice this in small moments. Someone asks for your help and your body hesitates for a split second. There's a tightness in your chest, a heaviness in your stomach, but before you even fully process it, you hear yourself saying, of course. And that moment right there is everything, because your body told the truth first, but your survival pattern answered instead. And your nervous system was never trying to betray you. It was trying to protect you from something it believed was more dangerous than exhaustion, disconnection. Because at some point your system linked belonging with self-sacrifice. So choosing yourself didn't feel neutral, it felt threatening. Even now when you imagine saying no, your body might react instantly. There may be tension, guilt, anxiety, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something unfamiliar. And unfamiliar has always meant unsafe to the nervous system. You may recognize this moment clearly. You're emotionally tired. You've been holding too much for too long, and someone reaches out to you again with their pain, their needs, their expectations, and part of you wants to help, of course you do. But another part of you feels heavy, quiet, distant. And that part isn't selfish, that part is honest, because when an empath finally begins to choose themselves, they don't suddenly stop caring. They stop abandoning themselves while caring. And there's a powerful difference there, because empathy was never meant to erase you, it was meant to include you. Choosing yourself does not mean you love others less. It means you are no longer participating in your own depletion. And at first, this creates an internal conflict. You may hear thoughts like, what if they need me? What if I disappoint them? What if they think I've changed? And the reality is you have changed, not into someone cold, but into someone conscious. Someone who can finally feel the difference between helping from fullness and helping from emptiness. Because helping from emptiness always comes with a cost. Your body pays for it. Your nervous system carries it. Your energy slowly drains in ways you can't explain. And people often don't notice how much you've been carrying until you stop carrying it. Not because they're bad, but because your strength made it invisible. Imagine this moment. Someone asks you for something you don't have the capacity for, and instead of automatically saying yes, you pause, you breathe, you listen inward, and then you say gently, I care about you, but I can't do that right now. And notice what happens next. Your heart may race, your body may tense, you may feel guilt rising, but underneath that something else appears, space. For the first time, your nervous system experiences what it feels like to stay connected to yourself while staying honest with someone else. And this is new territory. And the guilt you feel isn't a signal that you're doing harm. It's a signal that you're breaking a pattern your nervous system relied on for years. And patterns don't disappear quietly. They resist, they question, they try to pull you back into the familiar. But every time you choose yourself, something inside you stabilizes. Your nervous system learns that your needs are not emergencies to suppress. They are signals to respect. And once your nervous system learns that you will not abandon yourself, it stops living in constant vigilance. It stops scanning for who needs you next. It starts asking a different question. What do I need right now? And that question may feel unfamiliar at first, even uncomfortable, but it is not selfish. It is regulating. It is stabilizing. It is the beginning of coming back to yourself. And there is a sentence that will help you protect this new stability. A sentence that may feel simple, but carries profound safety. I'm not available for that right now. And the moment you stop overextending yourself, you don't lose your empathy, you refine it. You stop giving from survival and you begin giving from choice. And this is where everything begins to change. And once this shift begins, something very subtle starts to happen inside your nervous system, something you may not notice immediately, but you will feel over time. Because for the first time, your body is no longer living in constant quiet urgency, no longer scanning every interaction for emotional responsibility, no longer preparing to abandon itself just to maintain connection. And this creates space, not just physical space, but internal space, where you can actually hear yourself again. Because before this moment, your attention was trained outward, focused on who needed you, who might be upset, who might withdraw if you didn't show up the way you always had. But now your nervous system is learning something new. It is learning that you are allowed to remain present with yourself without losing connection. And at first, this can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, because your system was conditioned to equate self-sacrifice with safety. So when you begin to choose yourself, your body may still send old signals. You may feel guilt. You may feel the urge to explain yourself. You may feel the instinct to fix the discomfort of others quickly so you can return to the familiar role of being the one who carries everything. But this is the moment where everything changes. This is the moment where you pause instead of reacting, where you breathe instead of absorbing, where you stay with yourself instead of leaving yourself. And there is a simple reset you can use when you feel that emotional pressure rising, something that takes only 60 seconds, but begins to retrain your nervous system from the inside. You gently inhale through your nose slowly and deeply. And as you inhale, you bring your attention to your feet, feeling them firmly against the ground, reminding your body that you are here, that you are safe. And then you exhale slowly through your mouth, longer than the inhale, allowing your shoulders to soften, allowing your chest to release. And quietly inside you say the words, I am allowed to stay with myself. And you repeat this breath just a few times. And what this does is it interrupts the automatic survival response that used to pull you into overgiving. It reminds your nervous system that you have a choice now, that you are not trapped in old patterns anymore. And from this grounded place, you can respond instead of react. And this is where your power returns, because choosing yourself does not mean closing your heart. It means including yourself in your own care. And there will be moments where you are tested, moments where someone expects the old version of you to appear. The version that never said no, the version that never needed space, the version that was always available no matter the cost. And in those moments, your body may feel the familiar pull to return to what feels safe and known. But this is where you can say calmly and clearly, I can't hold this right now, and notice the strength in that sentence. It does not reject them. It does not reject you. It simply tells the truth. And truth is what creates real safety inside the nervous system, because every time you honor your limit, your body learns that you are trustworthy, that you will not abandon yourself to maintain belonging, and trust in yourself changes the way you move through the world. It softens the constant tension you carried for so long. It allows your empathy to exist without turning into exhaustion. And there is something else important you need to see clearly. Some people may resist this change, not because they want to hurt you, but because they became accustomed to the version of you that never had limits. And when you stop overextending yourself, it forces others to adjust, and this can feel uncomfortable at first. But the connections that are meant for you will not require your self-abandonment to survive. Real connection does not punish honesty. Real connection does not disappear when you honor yourself. And this is where you begin to see the difference between connection that is mutual and connection that depended on your constant sacrifice. And you can gently ask yourself these questions in quiet moments. Do I feel calm or tense when I say yes? Do I feel respected or obligated in this relationship? Am I giving from genuine care or from fear of losing connection? And do I feel like I can exist fully as myself here? And these questions are not meant to create distance. They're meant to create clarity, because clarity protects your nervous system from returning to patterns that slowly drained you. And as you continue choosing yourself in small, consistent ways, your body begins to settle into a new normal, one where you are no longer at war with your own needs, one where your empathy becomes sustainable instead of depleting, one where your presence comes from stability instead of survival. And this is where something beautiful happens. You begin to feel peace in places where you once felt pressure. You begin to feel strength in moments where you once felt guilt. You begin to feel at home inside yourself again, and you realize that choosing yourself was never an act of losing others. It was an act of finally not losing yourself. And from this place, your empathy becomes clearer, calmer, and more honest, because it is no longer driven by fear. It is guided by self-respect. And this is how you reclaim your energy. This is how you reclaim your nervous system. This is how you reclaim yourself. And in the next video, We'll talk about how empaths can release guilt after setting boundaries so their nervous system can fully accept this new way of living.